But without going into too much detail, like this car definitely helped me through a difficult time in my life. I'm not going to go into detail what that is, but if I was ever feeling down or whatever, I'd just pick up the keys, get in the car, blast it across Dartmoor, and I'd immediately feel happier. So it's finally happening, guys. The Evo 8 is unfortunately being sold. So it's sad times. What is going on, guys? I'm Jack and welcome back to Project Race Car. As you can tell from the title of the video, unfortunately my Evo 8 is going up for sale. It's a bit of a weird video to be making, really, because you haven't really seen this car unless you follow us on Instagram. But yeah, either way, I just wanted to make a video to explain sort of what's happening with the car, really, more than anything, because if you follow us on Instagram, you would have seen the car, pictures of the car being posted on there, but no video content. And I'm going to try and explain now why that's been, because I'm sure you guys have been itching to see the car if you do know about it. So it's been very difficult to make content on the car, unfortunately, because I don't have space for it at home, which is part of the reason it's going, because finding storage for cars close to home is difficult in where I live in Plymouth. So that's not been easy. It was stored about an hour away. Ollie was looking after it for me. That's just too far. So I bought it a bit closer to home, about 10-15 minutes away, but it's still a bit of a logistical problem to go and get the car and film with it, on a regular basis. The other reason is finance. So it's very difficult to justify keeping a car that you don't use. Yes, it's appreciating, which is great, but it's a lot of money to be tied up in a car that you only drive a couple of times a year, which I have this year since buying the Skyline. I did a road trip in it and I've driven it here and there, but that's about it, really. So it's very difficult to justify keeping it. But more importantly than that, I've got huge plans for the Skyline, which you've probably seen on the channel. So it doesn't make sense to keep this as well and have all that money tied up, and all the monthly outgoings associated with the car and so on. So it means I'll be going to be able to put a hell of a lot more money into the Skyline, which is brilliant, and it means that I can go forward with the build in the way that I want to, and I really want to make the Skyline build special and something different. Which, like, if I were to build this, I've gone really as far as I wanted to with it. We'll go over a bit of detail about the car in a second, but yeah, I've gone pretty much as far as I wanted to with it, so it's kind of already finished, which doesn't make for particularly exciting content for you guys. And also, don't forget, we've got Ollie's Evo on the channel as well, so for us it doesn't really make sense to have another Evo on the channel. Maybe someday there'll be another car that comes along, but there's nothing planned for that for the moment, so we're just going to focus on the Skyline and Ollie's Evo 5. So there's just a whole host of things where it doesn't make any sense to keep the car, unfortunately. So anyway, enough waffle from me. Let's go and take a look at the car. So there you go, guys. You've seen the car. It is an MR-FQ 320 Evo 8, if you weren't aware. So I've owned the car for about 4 years now. I've loved every second of owning it. It's been an absolutely fantastic car. I'm going to be very, very sad to see it go. But needs must, as I've just explained. I bought it bone stock. Basically done what most Evo owners do and do standard bolt-ons to get the car up to 400 brake horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque. So I'm not going to run over the entire spec because I said the car's going, so it doesn't make much sense. But it's exhaust, air filter, map, all that sort of stuff. So engine's completely standard. It's just got basic bolt-ons, and to be honest, like 400 horsepower is plenty for these cars. Yeah, they're going to be great when they're faster, but a 400 horsepower Evo is fast. And we'll go for a drive in a second, and I will try and demonstrate exactly what I mean. But yeah, I'm going to be very sad to see this car go. But as I mentioned earlier, I am very excited to build the Skyline. I want to say properly, but I didn't really have a plan when I built this car. It was actually the first car I modified, believe it or not, which is a bit of a weird car to start with, I know, but I was like, well, if you're going to do it properly, right? But as I said, I didn't really have a proper plan of what I wanted the car to be, so it's great and I love it, but I really want to put in the massive attention to detail on the Skyline, as hopefully you've seen so far. If you haven't checked out the Skyline videos, make sure you subscribe and go and check those out as well after this video, because we've already done some pretty cool stuff to that car, and I've got so much more planned, which as I mentioned, selling this is going to make things a lot easier. So without further ado, let's go and jump in the car and go for a drive, because that's what these cars are all about, right? Let's go. So we're in the car, and as always we have a problem with our air fresheners. Got our awesome caffeine and machine air freshener there. Let me take these down, 2 seconds. So hopefully you guys can hear me okay. I'm trying a different mic out today, so fingers crossed the audio is okay. Let's go for a drive. Right, so as always guys, we are up on Dartmoor. The sun is fading, so I apologise if it's in the way of the shots at all. But in this bit of the video, I thought I'd just explain why I actually love this car and why I'm going to regret selling it. I know I am, which I know is a bit weird considering the video is all about why I am selling it, but I feel like I've covered that. So I just wanted to do a short section on why I love this car as a bit of a tribute to how brilliant it really is. And I can say honestly now, this will not be the last Evo I ever own. I will have another one. And fingers crossed, when Ollie pulls his finger out and gets his built, he will let me ride in his as well as a passenger, so I won't lose the experience of it, which, fingers crossed, shouldn't be too long. But every time I get back in this car, I'm reminded of how good it is, and how special it's been to me over the 4 years that I've owned it as well, because, as I said, I built it from stock. Granted, it's not, it doesn't have a built engine, doesn't have a massive turbo on it, still running the stock turbo and so on. But in terms of, how I've got it looking and all that sort of stuff, it's been a great project for me, and I've really enjoyed it. Anyway, we're getting out into the open road now, so fingers crossed. Should be able to demonstrate exactly why these cars are fantastic. Couldn't resist. So the Evo is, as you probably know, completely different to the Skyline. My GTT is obviously rear-wheel drive. This is obviously four-wheel drive, which makes a massive cattle grid, makes a massive difference. But not even that, it's just the way it drives and the way it handles and the way it delivers the power, the noise it makes. Completely different cars, completely chalk and cheese, which I wasn't really expecting. I was sort of expecting them to be kind of similar. I know they're not they're not both four-wheel drive and so on, but they're both from roughly the same era. Skyline's a little bit older, but they're completely different, which is great because it means I've got two completely different cars. And obviously, sadly, we'll only have the one car when this goes. However, back to the Evo. So, as I said earlier on, it's running 400 brake and 400 pound-feet of torque. It's mapped by Engine Tuner in Plymouth. If you don't know those guys, check them out, because Martin down there is a brilliant mapper. Why am I going to regret selling this car? Well, because quite frankly, the speed, or the sense of speed that you get from the power, is mind-blowing. As I said, it's 400 brake horsepower, 400 pound-feet of torque, and it is miles faster than the Skyline. Yes, it's got an 80 horsepower bonus on the Skyline, but I can't demonstrate it on camera, but anybody who knows Evos and anyone who's been in an Evo will know how fast a 400 horsepower Evo is, or they will be able to guess, because it's for the bolt-ons that you pay for. You don't have to buy expensive things like injectors or turbos even. This is running the stock turbo at 400 brake. It's kind of on its limit, but it will do it. So yeah, I'm going to regret selling it just from the performance alone, for the money that you pay for these cars. Not only that, as I said, it's a very special car to me, and it was a very difficult decision to actually sell it. I would quite happily leave it in a garage and drive it a couple of times a year, but in reality, for what it's costing me, it's not really practical. So it is a shame. But without going into too much detail, like, this car definitely helped me through a difficult time in my life. I'm not going to go into detail what that is, but if I was ever feeling down or whatever, I'd just pick up the keys, get in the car, blast it across Dartmoor, and I'd immediately feel happier. And that's not to say the Skyline won't do that, because it will. It gives the same sort of experience, but in particular, this car is very sentimental to me because of that. So it is going to be a very difficult sale, and I don't really want it to go, and it's going to allow me to do some really cool things with the Skyline. So that alone is worth selling the car in my book. So guys, I apologise, it's been a lot of waffle today, but I just wanted to give you guys an update on what was happening with the car and the reasons for it going and why you haven't seen it and all that sort of stuff. So we're losing the light here in Dartmoor now, so I think I'm just going to wrap up the video there. So if you like this video, guys, please hit the like button and leave us a comment below if you've got any opinions on the Evo, on the Skyline, or what we should do to the Skyline, anything like that, anything at all. Just start the conversation and get commenting. But that will do from me for now, guys. Stay tuned for the next one. Catch you soon. Cheers, guys.